joining me. I know I've been MIA. I just want to take the time to thank those that have stuck in there with me. In today's video, we are going to be chopping my beautiful Monstera albo. Hope you enjoy. Okie dokie. So the plan is, I feel like I want to chop it probably around here and just have this top growth, and then if I can somehow get this bottom growth to be on the same pole, that'll be great, but I don't think that I can, because there is a node somewhere along here. So what I'm thinking, that if I chop it, let's say here, either this node would activate or this node down here would activate, and then that would continue up the rest of the pole. I'm not even sure if this is actually a node or what, but I'm thinking I'm going to chop it just above this one right here, and then I will just keep this top growth and then have this one as the second plant. So and really ideally I would like to take her off of this DIY pole and put her into one of my other poles, my other closed back poles, but I think it's going to be such a nightmare to get the roots out of this mesh. That's another thing why I'm kind of steering away from the mesh poles now, because I feel like it's just so hard to take them off the pole without ruining the roots when it's time to deconstruct it or move it to a bigger situation. So I feel like that's what I'm going to have to do. I might have to just deconstruct the whole thing. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm just going to deconstruct the whole thing, put it onto a bigger pole or one of the biggest poles that I have, and maybe just put them together. I think that might be the best way around it. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, let me go and get my supplies, and then let's get started with this plant. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get this one done and have enough time to do one more, my main Monstera, the OG Monstera, because she definitely needs a new pot. She's just been crying out for a new pot. I'm looking at her over there. Oops. All right, I have all my supplies to get started. I try to bring everything I can. I have had this plant for about 4 years, and this was like when Monstera albos were like the plant of the season. They were so rare and you could just about get your hands on. They were just started to come down, and I managed to get 2 for £50, and I was just like, wow, that is amazing, because before you couldn't even get 1 for £50, let alone 2. So yeah, I got it from the plant market. What's it called? Can't remember the plant market name, but I'll put it on the screen if I can remember. And yeah, it was such a good bargain that I was like, wow, Monstera albo. Now you could get them for like £25, even less. It's just so strange and crazy how the plant prices, they really do fluctuate, and they go up and down really. Some plants have maintained their value, I would say, whereas other plants have kind of really dropped drastically, and I think Monstera albo is definitely one of them, especially with like all the tissue culture and stuff that's going on now, which I think is amazing for the plant community. So I have 2 options of poles that I want to put her on. Either this thickly, can't remember which point it is. I think it's like 3.0. I don't really like them because of these flappy bits in the middle. I just don't, I feel like they kind of cut into the stems, and you really have to be mindful when the new growth is coming out so you can position it correctly. Otherwise, these kind of cut them. I've lost one of my Florida green leaves because it got caught on one of these and it just sliced it off. But this is all I have, and I have these two left, and I feel that these might be the easiest way because I could just plop it on once I take it out of the get the moss off of the back, and then take it out, and I could just plop some moss in the middle and then just plop it in and then close it up. Whereas this one I prefer much more because it's a bit more deeper at the back, so it's a bit more thicker of a pole, but I'm gonna have to feed it through. And also I feel like these ones are better with like two stems on. I feel like it just might look a little bit weird with just one stem in the middle. I don't know. Let's take it off and then we'll just go from there. I just bought a little bit of water just to moisten the moss a little bit. Hopefully that will be enough. All right. Okay. Oh boy. I feel like I've left this too long. I'm going to put it on here because I want to use the soil still. So hopefully, feel that. I think we're going to lose these. We're going to lose this root. Ooh, managed to do it without losing that root there. That is so cool. The new growth hasn't yet really hardened off, so I'm hoping that it still continues to grow. But it's just been in my way and I can't see the telly. And I have nowhere else to put her right now. So this is what we're doing. Okay. Okay. Well, that's the bottom half. And let's just cut her where we were going to put her in. All right, I'm gonna cut it here like that there, because if anything I could take this one as a node cutting, cut this one off and then let this bottom half grow up, so that way that lower down auxiliary bud will activate. Let's do this here like that. right, so I'm just going to start loosening up some of this moss. If I can salvage some of it, that would be great. But the roots are just crazy. I managed to get the top half off, and I think I'm going to have to cut the pole because these roots are just so thick. They're actually not coming through the holes or the little squares. So that's the first half, and I think what I'm going to do with this top half is continue it on like a totem pole or just like a plank, and just pot this bottom half into the pot. I think I'm sad to do that, to be honest. Or maybe just keep this as a smaller moss pole in the pot and then continue the rest on as an empty moss pole. All right, let me get on to the next one and just kind of like get the space a little bit more clear. So I've just cut that bit off. And then this is just going to be a single node. Just do a single node cutting like this. And there's the auxiliary bud there. So this will be a single node cutting. So now this bottom half will be a plant of its own. Okay, so this is how far I've got so far. I managed to get a lot of the roots off. Just kind of just like giving it a little massage, a little scratch at the back. And a lot of the roots had actually gone down into the substrate. So I feel like I might have to just cut the wire mesh away to get them out. Otherwise they'll just be too long and you'll just be kind of like scraping the root. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. These are my favorite shears. I got them off eBay and they are just brilliant. All right, so this is the bottom cut, and like I said, if you can see, yeah, there's an auxiliary bud just there. I'm going to see how it looks with two. Yeah, that two of them is not going to fit on this pole. All right, so I'm going to, okay, so I bought some more potting mix and a few choices of pots. So let's see which one we're going to work with. I'm not sure if this one is going to be too big. This is the same size as the one it was in before. I feel like this is just going to be way too big. All right, so we work down to these two. Because I want to keep it on this pole, just going to put it in like this. Like that. I think that should look okay. Then when it comes to the pole, that is how we're going to situate it. How are we going to situate it without taking off that bit? So these poles I got from Grow Tropicals, and they are just their clear poles. They also come in frosted and black as well. And I like the fact that the holes are pretty big. They're pretty, they've got a good size hole and they're perfect for Monsteras. Okay, so I actually think it's going to work better with the thickly open front poles because I could easily just slide the metal grid in just like that. And then I could just, I've got two of them so I could extend them. But I could, yeah, it's just easier for me just to slide it in and it would just close up, kind of, sort of. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put it onto this closed front pole. I'll just take off some of the grid and then we're just going to use this one instead. Let's put some of this moss that it was in like that. I don't know if that's going to be too much. My battery died, so sorry about that. But in the meantime, whilst I'm getting a little bit charged, I ended up just cutting off the whole of the wire off of it and just putting it on to the moss pole like this. Then I filled up this size. I'm not sure what size this is. I think this might be a 12 centimeter. And I'm just going to pot it up inside here like so. Let me put some substrate just in here. That. And then, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and just pot her in. And whilst we're here, I'm going to put this in the back. And then we're just going to go and fill her up. And I think I'm just going to keep this part of the pole with moss, and then the rest of the plant is just going to grow up without moss. I actually don't mind the watering. My only worry with moss is that it doesn't get fully saturated all the time. So hopefully this way might be a bit better. I don't know. And then what I'm going to do is just Velcro, not Velcro, I'm going to zip tie this to the pole. And it should be fine. All right, let's move on to the next one. So with the other one, what I did was I just chopped it up into single node cuttings. And then what I'm going to do is then plant them all in the same pot. So I have like a bushy display. Because I went to a plant shop one time and I saw the most beautiful Monstera albo, and it was just so full and it was like lush all the way around the pot. And I asked them, like, what did they do to get it to grow like that? And they said that there's multiple stems inside the pot and they're all growing their own shoots like that. So that's what I'm going to do with these guys. So I have this plank that I used in one of my other moss pole videos where I was giving you like options of different types of support that you can give your plants, and this had the Dioscorea discolor on it, but she's since died. So I'm thinking I can use this to put in the middle just to support them as they're growing up. I could kind of like just get them to attach to it, if that makes sense. So I think I'm going to use that and probably reuse the substrate as well. And I don't think I've got enough substrate left to do this one. So I'm just going to add some of this aeroid mix that I made for my philodendrons. It's not as airy as I'd like for monsteras, so I wouldn't use this just straight for my monsteras. I would definitely have to add a bit more bark to it, or some more coarse perlite or pumice. I'm just adding it to the pile of mix that I already had here. Yeah, it's just a little bit more chunkier for me. Just add the rest of this lacquer as well. Okay. So this is like the core pole. Can't remember what this was called again, but so here is the Diascoria discolor. It just completely just rotted off. It was doing okay for a little while. I thought that it was actually going to sprout back, but then it just died off. The little shoot that it was shooting out. So, yeah. That's a shame. I don't think that that plant is definitely not for me. It's not a plant that I think I would get again or spend money on buying because it's just so finicky. All right. I'm going to put that in the middle. Now, let's start planting these around. So the auxiliary bud is on this side. So I'm just going to try and see if I can make sure that they all go that way. Like that. Okie dokie, here we are. Here's everyone. So this is how they're all looking. So this guy is going to take a little while before all the buds start like growing towards the pole, but it's looking a little bit crazy at the moment, but I see the vision. I just need to put these guys, some strawberry pins on these guys because they're kind of twisting. So I just want them to stay in place there. But that's how she's looking so far. And then I put the other leafless node in here. And then we have the mother. So this is the top cut. And she's looking so beautiful. Her new growth got a little bit scraped, but it's okay. And yeah, that is it. I didn't have time to go and do my main Monstera, so we would definitely have that done in another video. So yeah, that is it for now. Let me know how you grow your Monstera. Do you have a Monstera albo, or do you just prefer just the original green? And yeah, until next time, stay happy, healthy, and whole, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Beautiful.